Catus Maximus here. Haven't made a little video dedicated about these things, but they're actually more or less as relevant now as they were in the 1950s or whenever these things came out. These are just basic little electric scissors or fancier ones that were 2-speed. These are actually Hamilton Beach when they made some products that were actually worth owning rather than just cheap kitchen appliances. The reason these are, well, they're relevant then and now just because they're simple scissors, and they have a couple advantages. Obviously, compared to normal scissors, when you are trying to make cuts, what you end up doing is getting a bunch of lift. So if you are working, I mean, they're primarily used with fabrics, but they're used a lot with crafts, even in the office, although not so much in the office because of their noisiness. But if people have arthritis in their hands, it can actually, operating scissors, because of the forces that you have to put on them, can actually be painful. So they're still pretty common these days. And looking around on Amazon, there's like a brand called like Pink Power and a few others where they have sold thousands of cheap Chinese versions of these for the very same reason that they were sold a long time ago, just to make things easier. So if you do have like thinner fabrics, you can still use you can use these, and just this short little stem makes it a little bit, more cooperative. We have a fairly thick piece of leather here, and surprisingly enough, we'll actually cut through that. Probably hard materials, hard plastics, and cardboards are going to be the toughest thing. These things are only 12 watts of power. If you're wondering why they buzz so much, in North America, these are 60 hertz, so they'll buzz or powers at 60 hertz. And it's just an AC electromagnet with just a little piece of steel at the end of this moving upper jaw. And so when you press the button, it just turns on that magnet, and it's reversing it 60 times a second because of the AC dragging that jaw with it, so that jaw is moving at 60 times a second. In European countries, 50 hertz, so they'll actually operate a little bit more slowly. But even, things like cardboard here, you give it a few seconds and it will still, find a way to chew its way through there. So that's the whole purpose of these things. And once again, if you're working on crafts, fabrics, thin and easy cut materials such as leathers, these things can just, reduce a lot of fatigue. They're not going to replace a nice, straight, real smooth edge cuts, because you're getting one nice shear out of a decent pair of scissors. Like these Fiskars are like the universal good scissors, and that's because this thing is moving at 60 times a second. So it can kind of, even though the cuts initially, and most times they are actually pretty straight, if you move around at all, then it can chew up the edge. But other than that, I still think these things are fascinating. I can't believe I've never talked about them before. These gloves are like shot, but what can happen is if you go too fast, what it'll do is, this is a spring-loaded jaw to make sure it always has tension, but if you overload it, it can easily move out of the way and at least prevents the jaws from getting bent or permanently damaged. So if you just basically need to moderate your speed, and if they get jammed up, pull them back. Otherwise, they work great. Once you jam them, then they really can shred the fabric. But if you are just a little bit more measured in their usage, this has like a little bead around the edge that you have to kind of chew through. But a little bit more measured in their usage, then you can actually get some pretty decent cuts, especially if you have like a straight yardstick, a straight edge ruler to run this against to help guide it. And that's the other distinct advantage, is if you're trying to make real small cuts or other certain situations, how thin this blade is compared to how thick the blades need to be on scissors can also prove to be an advantage. So anyway, that's my little video about, in the Hamilton Beach are pretty common. Them and Sears, I think, sold the most of these things. But they were actually pretty cooperative. It's just, you know, surprisingly enough, a lot of the complaints are just, a lot of it's just you going too fast. Once you exceed the cutting speed, then it just jams the fabric, which is, there we go. Sometimes they're a little fussy. If you use them a bunch, there is a bit of vibration, that's for sure. Noise, vibration, and harshness, that's due to the nature of this tool. But they're still pretty cool. I mean, they're used by people who do upholstery, replace automotive headliners. I've seen photos on Google Images about that where they use these because they can tack up and double-sided tape a headliner to get it kind of in place, and then just the jaws are so small that you can just go right along the edge just with these alone and get like a real nice fitment. So anyway, my little video about the Hamilton Beach Century Special electric scissors with a real special font. And if these ever intrigue you, these are the kind of thing that show up at junk stores in garage sales all the time. Anyway, thanks for watching.